living with her, what she told my mom was a different thing when what I faced in the house. She was treating me as if I was not that there was no blood connection between us. Again, she had a child at the age of 8. I was 8 years. I was taking care of her child. I was doing so many things which I was surprised if I'm the one who was doing it, even going to the extent of me cooking food. Yes. So the only thing that I was expecting from her is for her to send me to school. She did that, but she was making, at times when the school closed around 2:30, if I even come at 2:45, she would be beating me that I'm not from school. She was treating me so bad. So I decided that I'll persevere for me to just have my O level. Then me living with her, she disclosed she didn't want me to have any connection with my mom. So, but until I had my O level in her house. So as I had the O level in her house, I heard like she was discussing with someone that her sister has come. Her sister is in Bamenda there for family meeting. So I heard her saying where the family meeting is going to go. So I sneaked out of the house. I went there. That was where I met my mom. I was explaining the things to my mom. So that's why I decided to come back. I came to Kumba to say to my mom that no matter the situation, at least I'll stay with my mom and further my education.
Okay. Sad explanation there with you. Now, Mr. Ame Maurice Ngwa, founder or president of Universal Maiden Association in Cameroon, what motivated they are getting involved in this sector? Did you also work as a domestic worker?
Not actually, but I happened to grow up with my uncle, which I was more of a domestic worker than a relative.
Okay.
And like somebody who was born in a remote area, specifically in Meme division, under Konye subdivision. People who know that area, and when they're watching me, they will know what I'm saying, which is the truth. We have people who are coming from cities, more especially Yaoundé and the political capital, Yaoundé, to those remote areas, and they give our parents there, since most of them are peasant farmers, a lot of promises, and they will take these little children to these cities. The end result is that they frame up stories, and these children are being thrown away. We see them coming, either they are pregnant, either one or two things would happen. So I took upon myself, I shed tears. I said, it is high time we fight for the right of these domestic workers. It was so pitifully, it was a disgrace to me to see that even people who are matured below the age of 18. Like what she have said, she was 8 years old and she never had that privilege because of the death of her father. And she's not the only case. I've come across many. And I took upon myself, and I consulted other members of the association, that it is high time we advocate for this marginalized group of persons in our society. And fortunately, we were given an approval in 2021 to operate, which we are calling on Cameroonians and the world at large to look into the pride of these domestic workers. The children are actually suffering.
Okay, the children are actually suffering. Apostle Lambe Valentin Ngwa, when you listen to what he said, he says he lived with a relative, but played more of a role of a house help, even with the relation. And you listen to Georgiana, she says something similar, because this person was a blood relation who also behaved as if they had no blood. What is happening? At least you are also a consultant, you are a counselor. Why is this recurrent, that you live with children and treat them as if they were not from other parents?
Mr. Leo, any society not guided by particular laws will definitely face challenges. I don't think that there is a law guiding the position of all these house helps in our society. You go to
there should be.
Yeah.
He's going to tell us.
You go to an advanced society like Britain, you see you have the House of Commons. The House of Commons is for everybody, any common individual. Persons who do not have anyone to defend them. The common man that does not have money. Because we live in a society where if you don't have money, you don't have a voice. If you don't have reputation, you don't have a voice. If you don't have connection, you don't have a voice. And the laws guiding the community are the laws that stand for the helpless people. Those who have no defense, those who have no authority, those who have no money. The reason why children sometimes are maltreated by some persons, first and foremost, it begins with the conscience. Before you maltreat somebody's child, and then it must be you have a very bad conscience. I have to speak to the conscience of people first before any law guiding this particular vulnerable individuals in the society. As a matter of fact, if an individual gives his child to you, or you have a relation that lives with you, and you maltreat that child as if it's not somebody else's child, it means you have a very wicked conscience. I think when you are treating a fellow human being like you should be able to understand that that person has feelings like you. They have psychological torture, emotional torture. They have also physical challenges like you. It is your responsibility to understand that whatever you are doing to that person, if they were to do it to you, you will feel the same impact. Or whatever you are meting on somebody else's child, if your child is given that same treatment tomorrow, you will it be bad, because every action of ours is a seed you are planting that either you will harvest tomorrow directly or your descendants will harvest. So I think the individuals in question have a very bad conscience, because for conscience sake, you are not supposed to treat any human being carelessly. For conscience sake, you are not supposed to treat any human being with any form of wickedness or diabolic approach. That's conscience. Now, in some societies where it's properly advanced, you see there is a fight for human rights. But you see in our society, there are commissions for human rights, but it's not effective. And as a matter of fact, the people who are supposed to enjoy the privileges of human rights are the ones who are even heavily marginalized, because there is nobody speaking and defending them. That's the reason why in a society where you have a lot of, how do they call this group of persons? No, no, not IDPs. People who form group to fight against certain syndicates.
Okay, syndicates.
Yes, if we have syndicates that can stand on behalf of people who are vulnerable in the society, it will be easier for such persons to run to when they are maltreated, so that the syndicate can stand up and fight on their behalf. But in a society where everybody can do those kind of things and go scot-free, and sometimes those things end within a house, it's not public. If she doesn't come today in public and explain what she went through, nobody will ever know. And there are thousands scattered all over the nations of Cameroon and the part of the world who are going through one challenge or the other, and nobody understands. We even have critical cases of individuals who have left Cameroon to the Middle East, Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, and who are being maltreated. Children climb on their head, urinate, beat them, slap them, but their house helps. That's an abuse of human rights. In a society where human rights is not taken into serious consideration, the vulnerable have nobody to defend them. So I think these things are some very important things where our society has to start looking into it and creating probably a syndicate that somebody can run to for defense.
Yes, but Africans are said to be loving, brotherly, filled with the spirit of community life. How do we explain that this is actually very prevalent amongst homes, Africans maltreating African children? Where did we get it all wrong? This attitude of not treating another person's child living with you like yours.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Kum. I think that the situation is actually very deplorable. And like one of the co-panelists said, you see, it is, to me, to emphasize on the lack of consciousness, because when you get somebody as a domestic worker, he or she has to play a certain role which is important for the sustenance of the house when you are not there. So what beats my imagination is that you get somebody's child whose blood is red and runs in his veins or her veins like yours, and then you dedicate your children, maybe you dedicate the children that you have removed from your womb to the hands of this so-called domestic worker. Now, but you tend to forget the fact that in your absence, the domestic worker is the mother of your child, is the father of the child, where the case is a male. And what you do, like he said here, Mr. Fosu said here, what you do to the domestic worker could be a replica of what that domestic worker, if she is cruel, will do to your child. So I think that it is something which is very important, this call for consciousness, this call for education, and to sensitize the society as a whole to recognize the fact that the people who are domestic workers are very important, because the truth is that they will always be needed in the society. There are certain civil servants who cannot do without domestic workers. So the important thing that we must emphasize here is that their necessity should be commensurate to the way they are treated as human beings. It's not just to take advantage. Sometimes they make promises of educating these domestic workers after a term of service, but those promises are hardly made by some of the employers. You get them to do all type of work. They get offers from beds. They work late into the night, and then some of them are even subjected to eat remains of food, which some houses will not even give to their dogs. So it is very disheartening, very disheartening. So we really want to say that it is a good idea that Mr. Ame has come up with. And on my own point of view, I want to say I will encourage him to carry on. We hope that the success will come, and so that these domestic workers will see the lights of the day and get themselves free from this near enslavement that we can term on their behalf.
So many children are living under this condition of near enslavement by, like he's saying, Mr. Ame. What are some of the stories that people tell you, some of these girls and boys working in these homes?
Yeah, we have numerous stories that we have gathered. We have videos at times when they call us, and we rush there and interview them. And there are some cases that their employers have come to reason with us, and some of them are living in a better condition today. One of the common situations we usually find while we carry out our research is this domestic violence. Complain, it became a different story, that she's the one struggling to destroy the marriage, and she was thrown away, and she was stranded in the street. And fortunately for us,
is there a law in Cameroon? You are working in this domain. Is there a law in Cameroon that actually protects domestic workers?
there is a law, and I want to use this opportunity to call on the lawmakers of this country to revisit the law. This law was established in 1968,
okay,
and it was amended in 1976. There it is stipulated clearly domestic workers have 8 hours a day to work, 52 hours a week. They have a day off. They are supposed to be registered under CMPS. It is stipulated in the law. The law is clear. And you don't employ a domestic worker below 18 years, which means it's child abuse if the person is below 18 years. But it is common in our society because of the ignorance of the law governing this sector. Because from our research, we realize that this sector contributes 3% to the economic growth of our society. But many of them, and there is a minimum wage which governs all the sector, not excluding the domestic workers. They too are due the minimum pay wage. But from our findings or from our interaction, many of them were part of the association, part of us. The highest amount is 30,000. That one of them is audible to tell us that that is the highest amount. Many come for 20, 25,000, 15. Some, they promise to learn, for me to learn a trade. They promise this, and at the end of the day, there must be stories. So, but I and other members of the association thought it wise that using the media to educate Cameroonians, sensitize Cameroonians and the world at large, we believe the future, like the apostle said, everything is centered in our conscience.
Okay.
We want Cameroonians and the world at large to put conscience first, because these children actually, they are suffering.
The children are suffering. Good evening, Mr. Liu. It's really a pity to see how some people treat these domestic workers, whereas the most of the chores in the house, unfortunately, most often, when they complain, people term them as liars. The Bible says there is time for everything. May God help us. Hannah is writing from Yaoundé. Good evening, panelists. I am so happy to hear this core topic being discussed. I have been thinking really on how we can do or go about the solution of these vulnerable workers. A good evening, sir. Lovely program. Please, this issue, okay, should be discussed every week, okay? No, I hope we have time to be discussing this every week. Apostle Ambi Valentine Ngwa. Now, these guys go through lots and lots of problems. Who do we blame here? Is it the parents who give them in early? Is it the employer who is wicked? Or the society that also condones this, because this child or the girl or boy is also is maltreated in the presence of so many in the quarter. People visit the home and they see what's happening.
Mr. Leo, first and foremost, not everybody have the same opportunity. Yes, people are born with different opportunities. There are people who are well-to-do, there are others who are not well-to-do. And you will not kill somebody because life has not favored the person. People sometimes work very hard, but they don't get what those who do not work get. So life is that funny. And sometimes when you are born from that underprivileged home, that your parents have done all they could, and then they're unable to amount to something that can help you grow in the society, they start looking for means through which they can pass you through another channel for you to succeed. If a parent decides to send a child somewhere, the child can go and get education the parent cannot offer, I think it's another way of solving a problem. Because you definitely must not be the one to sponsor your child. The society is not the same. The fingers are not all the same. So wisdom even demands that when you're unable to manage a child's education, you can even give the child out, lend that child to render domestic services. Sometimes one can sponsor her for tomorrow, rather than keeping the child, protecting the child, keeping the child around you when you will not add any value in the child's life. So that's one of the reasons. The parents may not be blamed, because probably if they had the means to grow their children, they would have probably grown their children. Nobody likes to give birth to a child and hand it to somebody else. Secondly, some of them are also victims of untimely death. Their parents died before they even saw the light of the day. Most of them, parents die at a very tender age, and the child gets frustrated. Somebody collects the child. First and foremost, to keep that child under a roof is number one, security. And then now the child begins to look that environment as the place that you can find succor, because there is nowhere you can hide your head. Sometimes some of the children don't even have where to stay. That's why we have street children. So the fact that somebody brought you under the roof is another advantage. One other thing I want to also emphasize is that some of the children also, when they are sent and they go to the houses, probably it is their attitude towards the authorities that caused them to start reacting. We cannot just blame the guardian, we cannot just blame the authority, the employer, without also looking into the lifestyle of the children. Because we have seen videos where house help will climb on children, beat the children, maltreat the children even die. So this argument has to be balanced on both sides, because there are very heartless and demon-possessed house helps also that go to people's houses and go and cause massive destruction. Some also go and seduce the man in the house. You can say the man wants to sleep with them. On the other hand, the house helps also that seduce the man in the house to have their way and then concretize their position. And as soon as they get pregnant tomorrow, probably the madam of the house is not conceiving, and then she gets pregnant and wants to occupy. It's an opportunity for her to take her place there and sit down. So we are giving these arguments on both sides. On the societal response to some of the maltreatment of these children. You know, we live in a society where people will tell you that this is my family issue, don't interfere here. Do not interfere in my family matters. Because somebody can actually see a child being maltreated. When a child being maltreated in the neighborhood, you will know. from the way the child is walking, from the way the child stresses, from the way the child doesn't go to work. Some even give promises that I'm going to send the child to learn a trade. They don't send the child to learn the trade. They will send the child to school. They don't send the child to go to school. Now, when people in that community sees that kind of thing, what happens is that they can only help from a distance, because you cannot interfere into somebody's privacy, except the life of the child is at stake. That is to say, beaten consistently, maltreated in such a way that the child can die. And then somebody now can take violence, now step into the car and say, no, this is somebody's child. You can't be treating somebody's child like this. So the response of the society is based on the access which the person that has that child gives the society, because you cannot jump into somebody's house. It will tell you he has no evidence that shows that he has maltreated the child. There is no proof on ground. And sometimes the children are intimidated. Even if they are taken in front of a police or a gendarme, they will go there, they won't be able to speak, because they will tell you, if you say anything there, we're going to finish with you. And now the child looks in front, looks behind. It's like somebody between the devil and the deep blue sea. They have nowhere to go if they leave that place. Somebody is housing them. That's enough security. Number two, the person is giving them food to eat. That place that they are housing you and giving you food to eat is enough security that many people are looking for. So rather than end in the street, they will prefer to persevere and go through what they are going through. And that's the reason why organizations like this are needed, so that places could be constructed, because I think the focus of this organization is to get a befitting environment, to build houses where children who are frustrated, confused, and left in the street could be brought there, given education, given protection, and given the opportunity to become better persons in the society. Because losing your parents or being born from a poor home does not make you a disadvantage in the society. You can only become a disadvantage if the value is not added in you. And there are so many potentials roaming the street because there was nobody to give them that shelter and the opportunity to bring out their abilities.
Okay. Yes. When you found yourself in this situation, because you said it was until you were in Form 5 that you overheard discussions, were you helpless? Could you not help yourself? Could you not also talk with friends? You were going to school. Are you sharing with them? And why did you have to endure all these years?
I had friends, but the woman which I was living with, she told me that she went and reported me in school, that she told the principal that I'm a bad child, that she should not allow me to mingle with people's children. Like, I will instigate them to do bad things. Like in school, the way I was like, I'm alone. I don't have a friend. Nobody visits me. I don't visit anybody. From my house to school, from school to the house. So she made me, I had no one that I could like explain my problems to, explain what I'm going through at home, even the neighbors around. She made it, that means when she leaves the house, I lock the door and stay inside. I don't move out until she comes back. Even to eat was a problem. I don't eat. When I myself, I prepare the food, but for me to eat is like, when I just hear her voice, the food cannot even just go down. I was at times I even take something inside the room that I want to eat. I just want to even take a little bit of something. There's no way. It was when I was seeing my period, when I was in Form 4 going to Form 5. I could not tell her. So the thing pushed me until I was able to even, I decided to make friends, to have like this is a boyfriend. A guy was asking me out just because I wanted money for part. I could never even ask her.
Wow. And you were yearning to leave.
Yes.
Until that day. But when you told your mother, how did she react to this disclosure that you made?
When I told her, she said she has been making so many attempts to see me, but they keep telling her they've sent me. Either I've gone to my 6, I've gone to something like that. Means she was not understanding where they're taking me, where they don't give her the opportunity to see me. So when I told her, she said that's the reason she has been avoiding her, leaving her call. She does not pick. She just told me that she not bother. We should go us to and she follow her to come back.
Yeah, but the relationship between the employer and the parents, how should that relationship be? Are the children, most of them, are they cut off from their parents?
Yeah, I had a situation with a little girl who abandoned her home. I was living with one of her classmates. Mm-hmm. She was in high school. When she heard of this, our organization, she came to me and I interviewed her. She is from the southwest, one in Tiro, in Kupema, Ninguba. And her employer got her through her mother. Like, her mother is a friend to this little girl's mother back in the village. And since this woman is in city, needed a house help. So she was brought there, and the promise was that they have to further her education. That she has been for close to 6 years, she has not said an I in any of her relatives. When she keep on asking, even number, she doesn't have the number. And they have limited her, the allowance, because they are afraid that when she gets a certain amount of money, she will run away. So they monitor her. They monitor her. They come and drop her in school, and the security, the gate man, is aware of her. When they close, she cannot go out. The driver will come and pick her back to the house. She has been crying. She will come back, instead of revising or reading, she indulged into domestic works. She will do everything at the end of the day. But her pride was that she wanted to see any of her relatives, because they were not related. It was that kind of a connection, like what the apostle said, which she happened to come from an unprivileged home. And since she's less privileged, the mother of this, her employer, explained to the mother, keeping this child here, my daughter can sponsor her in a good school with all those promises, not knowing that they are taking her in a cage where the mother will never, and the mother does not know where the daughter is living. And the daughter too cannot trace the mother, because the person who connected her with the employer is of late. So the mother in the village does not have the number of this person here in the city. The person who was connecting them is their mother. So it's in fact, there are many other cases that we have come across. But my cry is that we want people of good consciences.
We want people of good consciences, as so many persons are living under very difficult conditions in Cameroon. For example, look at what you were saying, that this girl went through because she was cut off from the world. And when I get what she's telling me here, Manka says that she was also cut off from many persons. Why is it difficult for these persons who find themselves in such situations to reach out to organizations that can help? Is it the fact that we don't have enough information on associations like this that are existing? But you could also report to the police or any other instance.
Yes, Mr. Kum, I think that from what we have been getting on the studio here, there are issues that we can take note of. When an employer of a domestic worker starts by trying to cut off the employee from the outside world, it is already indicating handwritings on the wall of the evil intention the employer has. Because if actually the conscience is there that you want to treat the domestic worker as a human being, there will be no reason why you have to cut off the worker from getting linked up even to the parents. Because depriving the child from linking up to the parents is an indication that there is cruelty that the employer has in hand against that employee. Otherwise, what are you concealing? You're concealing your maltreatment of the child so that the world should not be aware of. And like the apostle said here, it is quite indicative that even if there's a curious neighbor who has that conscience to maybe get his or her ear overlapping into the other house, if you go knocking at the door, they will tell you, keep off from here. It is my domestic affair, you are not concerned. So I think that we still have to really consider that situation. It's very, very painful, because once an employer starts depriving an employee who is a human being, and you keep her away from getting contact even to the neighbors, because some go to the extreme of emphasizing the fact that don't go to the next door, don't have a phone, don't have any contact with the outside world. And like the Manka said there, you see, it pushes the child who should have grown up with good morality and responsible. Now, the child is forced because she's a girl. And there are certain situations that you cannot be, in fact, your conscience cannot get dead to understand that the girl has gone to 15, 18. The natural build-up of a human being start coming on a woman. And as a mother whom you have employed the child, though she's a domestic worker, you have to understand that she too has the same natural build-up like you are. And so she doesn't need to come and tell you, Mama, I need this, I need that. You have to be conscious of how you treat your children. You should be able to consider the type who is working under you as well. I know, like the apostle said one, that it's something that you not put the blame on one side. Now, some domestic workers too can be very dangerous. And I will not keep my eye blind from the influence of neighbors too, because sometimes too, you see, you have a child that you have brought to help you in the house, and then maybe you are not there. You have gone to work. Not necessarily you are bringing the child because you are not supposed to be there all the times. Mm-hmm. In your absence, you see, a neighbor would look at your domestic worker and ask, so since you came here, you are still putting on the same pair of slippers or that dress you came with. Yeah, if I were the one, I would have taken you to the market, I would have done this. You see, it starts ringing some negative impressions in the head of that worker, and then when maybe you come back, her head is ringing of what information was given her by the neighbor. Mm-hmm. So it is, even though the majority of them are really suffering and their conditions are deplorable, we decry that. We also want to decry negative influences from all the corners. And then we beckon on those, because like I said the first time, domestic workers will remain very necessary in the human society, because not all families can have the means to sit back at home. If you sit back at home, the house will be in difficulties. You must get engaged with your day-to-day activities, and so that is where the domestic worker is necessary. So we plead to the public, and that's why I'm thanking Mr. Ame for this good idea that has come up with. So we want to say that he should make more effort to reach out. Even here, let the law that he said exist that protects these domestic workers. The law should be active and applicable, because sometimes good laws in our country are written and they're there on papers. There's no application.
Yeah, but if nobody denounces, if nobody goes to the court, how do you apply the law?
That is exactly what I was saying. Like the apostle said, I think this type of sensitization is important, that even the domestic worker should be aware of the fact that he or she has the right to reach out there. Like he mentioned that sometimes they will warn you and they give you strict warning. If we go there, if you make a statement, I think when you go there, you can even tell the law that I've been warned not to declare my plight here, because my employer says if I get back to the house, I will be tormented the more. Okay. I think the law and the law at that time can act on that to make sure that that child is secured. I think that's what because we must take measures.
We must take measures. Can we come back to the law that protects the domestic workers in Cameroon, Mr. Amen?
Yeah, like I said, that there was a law, or there is a law governing these domestic workers. This law was passed in 1968, and hopefully was amended in 1976, which to date no amendment has been made. And my pride is that let the lawmakers of this country revisit this law so that it can better the situation of these domestic workers. And they should call the attention of many Cameroonians so that they should know, or they should be aware, because what is killing the society is ignorance of the law. Many Cameroonians don't know that there is a law protecting this sector, these domestic workers. It is well specified. The law is clear. How many of these domestic workers are being signed contracts? We need to sign they need to be establish a contract with their employers. Their employers need to sign the contract, which can be renewable. In that contract, the employee, who is the domestic worker, knows he or her duties. You cannot tell somebody that you want the person to come and just do cleaning at home. Cleaning turn to cooking, turn to all the house chores in the house. So that is where the law comes in, that you should specify, the job specification should be there, and the duration of the contract. And the employee knows that when he or she breaches the contract, should be punished by the law. And you, the employer, what you have agreed, which is specified in the law in terms of leave, bonus allowances, to be registered under CMPS, number of hours work per day, those holiday periods, and the employer also needs to know that they are human. Because I've seen a situation whereby if a domestic worker, especially a female domestic worker, a girl, happen to see a suitor and she's ready to get married, it becomes a problem. In that law, it is clear. If the domestic worker has found somebody and wants to celebrate her marriage, she needs to inform her employer a week before the event, so that the employer can now make other proper arrangement. If she's bereaved, she needs to inform her employer, so that there should be some proper arrangement for who to replace he or she. But now, many of these things, Cameroonians or many people out there don't want many of these children to be aware. It seems like the apostle said, giving shelter, most of them are coming from remote areas, villages, wish to feed themselves. It's not easy, it's difficult. Coupled with the crisis that we find ourselves in the northwest and in the southwest. When you happen to have an opportunity to have somebody who can shelter you,
Yes, it's a big opportunity.
it's a big opportunity, and give you food. So they now use threat as a means to calm them down.
Throw into the street.
Because if they dare to voice out their right or to fight for their right, they will be thrown out of the house. So that is why, like what the apostle said, everything boils down to the conscience of the employer. Because it is unbearable, or it's of hell of that you are a human being. One of the things I notice when we go to churches, we can easily identify. I happen to have taught that child. I taught her in one evening school in Kumba. Then, and why by then I have not come up with this organization. And I questioned her. I said, you are so brilliant in an evening school. I said, why not you go to a formal school, a day school? She said, no, she's a house help. That it is when her employer comes back, because she goes and she takes care of the children and other things. But I asked her, are you fine? She said, yes, she's fine. That the treatment they are giving her is okay.
Okay, I'll take some messages and then we move on. Good evening, Lotson from Bamenda. Thank you for this wonderful and educative program. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Thanks for this wonderful topic. People must learn to treat domestic workers just like their own flesh and blood. Thanks for the good work you're doing. Ozilia Oponde, writing from Galim. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I really appreciate the program. Today, I'm Mr. Tamba George from Moyuka. Good evening, Mr. Liu and the crew of My Media Prime. This topic seriously makes me emotional. Children who are taken as domestic servants have passed through a lot. More than 75% of children are being enslaved in those houses. To me, the government should create a commission to check the well-being of children. This commission go from house to house doing service. Sylvia is writing from Malabo. Good evening, Mr. Liu and other participants in the studio. Mr. Dangwik Adag Clarkson, writing from Gaunderi. We have an interesting topic tonight. For my opinion, I think protecting domestic workers is by applying the best levels of management, which are behavioral factor, technical factor. Good evening, panel on the studio. Nice topic. I was a victim as a domestic worker, and we ended in the gendarmerie, and I signed documents. Luckily for me, I was vindicated. Abu is writing from Monrovia. I think a training center or school vulnerable groups in society, and as such, the government must introduce laws and policies targeted at protecting domestic workers. Domestic workers should have the same fundamental labor rights as any other worker, reasonable hours of work, weekly rests of at least 24 consecutive hours, a limit on in-kind payments, clear information on terms and conditions of employment, respect for fundamental rights at work, including their space of privacy, Denty, bright writing from the United Arab Emirates. Good evening, sir. You are my role model. I really enjoy all your programs. Please always bring Pastor Ambe. He's an honest man. Thank you for your educative program from Douala. Okay. Good evening, sir. This is Vera. Thanks for the program. Please, if you have a husband and he doesn't give you money to care for yourself, okay, that is unrelated to this topic. Good evening, Prime Mr. Liu. So much happened under the roof of a home, not to even mention the involvement of a domestic worker. For me, acquiring a domestic worker should be something legally documented with outline laws and consequences for both the employee and the employer. It's a lovely seeing Ancien Palenka sharing his unlimited wisdom on today's show. Mr. Kum, I pray we have Pa Kaleng regularly. Kudos to the panelists. Mr. Ewang, writing from St. Francis Kumba. Okay, I hope, I don't know whether he's going to be regular here. Yes, some persons think that the conditions of work should be clearly stipulated, documents signed even before the worker takes up the job, but they are also described as vulnerable, especially women. Vulnerable for many men are unscrupulous. This is happening. Where are their wives?
First of all, Mr. Low, I believe that we are supposed to set up agencies that negotiate the employment of domestic workers, if at all we actually want to make this thing effective. A child is just picked from one village and sent to the city to come and stay under a rich somebody. Then the person decides whatever comes out of the child's life. Such a child has no right. You and I know that there are so many laws in this country that are not, first of all, looked into, that are pertinent things that are really burdening this nation. I don't think that the law will be going down to the extent of checking what a domestic worker is going through or not. So to me, to resolve this problem, there should be agencies where people come to sign contracts with domestic workers on behalf of the agency. Just like a football team. Before a player goes to play somewhere, there is a manager that signs the contract, and there are certain agreements. First and foremost, the fact that the child is coming out from an organization automatically puts fear in the heart of the person taking the child. Number two, the protocol of agreement makes the thing legal in such a way that you can be sued tomorrow for maltreating anybody's child. With that put in place, anybody coming with the consciousness of taking a child under that kind of atmosphere would develop fear and respect for that child, because the child is not loose. I think people believe that the children have nobody to back them up, and that's the reason why they can maltreat them the way they want to maltreat them. That's the first thing. Number two, when you take a child from a desperate family that do not even have their own to eat, at the back of your mind, even if I maltreat this child, who is in that family that can stand against me? But if there's an agency that can be able to assemble these children, leave them stay with their parents, but if at all you need a child, the child is officially registered under that agency. You don't go through the parents, you pass through that agency, and there's a form you fill and you agree on certain protocols guiding that child from the salary, the health condition, if there's education you're going to involve, if it is a trade the child is going to learn. If the child is going through one thing or the other, the child has the right to escape from that house and come back to the agency. That atmosphere alone defends that vulnerable child from the hand of any treacherous or diabolic employer. That is the thing that I believe we can be able to use to solve this problem. But you see, sometimes some people even take some children without even seeing their parents. They will put them in a bus in Bamenda and say, come to the agency, we'll pick you in the night. You pick that child, first of all, the child looks very cranky, the child looks very frustrated. To you, you have become a god to that child, failing to understand that that is a destiny growing around you. That somebody is in that position right now does not mean that the person will remain like that. That's why I keep emphasizing on the place of conscience. People should be good enough to fellow human beings before considering them as slaves or employees or what. You don't need somebody to work for you before you cater for that person. It's your obligation as a fellow human being to cater for another human being, because that is a conscience of the human nature. I think we have to think first before start maltreating people. And one other thing I want to emphasize here is this. You see, people should not walk into your house from the looks and they know who is the house help. Nobody should walk into your house from the way the children look without saying anything. You can detect who is a house help. If somebody walks into your house and be able to detect a house help amongst your children, you're not a good man. Because a child that comes under your roof as a house help is supposed to reflect what is in that house. It's supposed to look like the children of that house. If you are going to the super mall, carrying your children in the car, carry them all along. If you are dressing your children, dress them alike. So that when somebody walks into the house, I say, is it your second child or your third child? If people are able to psychologically or with observatory moves detect who is a house help in your life without you voicing it out, you are a wicked person. Because there must be that, there shouldn't be that distinction between your children and the house help. That's the first thing. And to me, I believe so much that if somebody comes into your house and is unable to detect who is the house help, you have won the heart of people in that society. That's the first thing. Secondly, that child you are training in your house could be the best. Biblically speaking, we have studied and realized that some of those children turn out to be the best among even the ones that you gave birth to. So you are serving humanity, and know that every act of kindness is a seed you are planting to reap tomorrow. The Bible says in Galatians chapter 4, 6 verse 9, it said, let us not be weak in doing good, for we shall reap in due season. That means every act of kindness is a seed planted. Now you must also have the consciousness that your children can end up falling in the hand of that house help or house help properly positioned tomorrow. You may be financially okay today, and an unprecedented something happens, and then suddenly you realize that you are dead, your wife is dead, and your children are left now at the mercy of people. What if that house help that you were catering for happens to be the person who has survived and become something? You will realize that you were investing in the future of your children through somebody else. So I want to believe that the people you touch in humanity are more important than the people you are born from the same womb. A house help can be of more importance to you than your biological brother or sister, because it is how you affect somebody's life that determines your value in the eyes of the person. So one of the things we are still emphasizing here is that those of you who have house helps in your houses, nobody should walk in your house and see the hairstyle of the house help and be able to distinguish between that and your child. They shouldn't look at your child's dress and distinguish between your child and the house help. They shouldn't see where they are eating and distinguish where your own children are eating. When they walk into the house, the person should be confused among the children who is a house help. That's when you will know you are somebody who has a conscience.
Okay, that is when you know who has a conscience. But some of these house helps themselves are trouble to the persons who recruit them. Have you had instances like that?
Yeah, it's but normal that not all of them are good. Some of them are possessed. Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of them are possessed. But I believe if a child or this house help is treated well, irrespective of the behavior she might have come with it from where she's coming from, you can easily transform that child to be, or this house help to be somebody better off. Because we cannot, when we talk of some of them having attitude problem, is correct, but as human, I don't think there is any human being who is treated fairly would develop a very bad attitude.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen a situation whereby a girl who was recruited as a domestic worker, as a cook, for 6 months, the money they promised to pay her, she has not been paid for over 6 months. Even the gate man also was not paid for 6 months. But this man is a multi-millionaire. And they team up. Her attitude when the man talks, she behaved funny, her responses. But one day they team up and she said, Oga, are you done eating? The man said yes. That okay? Can you call anybody that you know around within 5 minutes so that you can explain many of your things, your will, you can give your will because I have poisoned that food. The man was calling the driver to come and take him to the hospital. The gate man too said he would not open the gate. So the man was like, how much is your money for that 6 months? He bought a lot of money, then the security, the gate man, and said, people should come and take your money. But the little girl said, so you had all this money, which means you are wicked. Like what the apostle said, we should have conscience. Which therefore, you can easily differentiate the man's children from that house help. And she told him that she doesn't want the money. That, Oga, I thought there was no money, but you have proven to me that you have the money, but because of wickedness, I will not take this money and I will not work with you again. She left, and this gate man also left, and the man wept and went now to church for deliverance. Because to the man, it's like it's a spirit. So, like what the apostle, this thing goes alongside with spiritual issues. Because some of these children, when you know that they are wicked, why not invite the man of God? Why not pray? Mm-hmm. Because you yourself, you go to church and you pray, and you say that child is bad. Try to counsel the child and try to bring the child closer to God. The child will eventually change.
Good evening, Mr. Kum. That is Giriet says, good evening, Mr. Kum. My grandmother really likes your program. She usually says, put me Mr. Leo. And whenever Pastor Ambe is there, she will be very happy. Ngala Evelyn Bon Bimi says, Kum Leonard, good evening, and the great panelists on air. Good evening. I'm watching you live from Yaoundé. In my point of view, I would like to say that the society needs functional laws that sets a criteria on getting a domestic worker. 2, the society needs laws that cross-check and protect domestic workers. 3, the society needs laws that can settle issues vis-a-vis employers and their domestic workers amicably. Domestic workers are human beings with blood flowing through their veins like you and I, so they merit love, concern, and care like any other, irrespective of their background. There is a saying that what goes around comes around. Once a domestic worker is not well catered for, he or she might take the grievances back to the innocent children of their employers. Lonia Nsen says, I'm watching live from Yaoundé. Okay, good evening to all of you watching the program. Now, where should someone caught in this web as a domestic worker carry their problems to?
Yeah, Mr. Kum, I think that the essential things we have raised here has to do with creating an organization. If the law that exists in Cameroon can be awakened, I think that would be a good thing. The apostle just said something here which is very crucial to me. The necessity to have a type of association for these domestic workers, because like he said, I want to come this other way. potential employers for these domestic workers should not maybe get your idea and be frightened. They should also understand that if this type of syndicate is created to take care of these domestic workers, it will also guarantee the security of the supposed employers.
Of course.
Because that such an organization will spell out terms of employment both for the employer to be and the employee to be. Because if the terms are there, I think the maltreatment of the employer's children by domestic workers will also cease, because they will also be conscious of the fact that the employer can take you to law just like you can take the employer to law. I think those principles will begin guiding instituting a type of control, natural control, whether in the presence of the employer or in the absence of the employer. Because the only thing is that I really want to also awaken the consciences of employers. I've always said this, even in my own home, I've said, in fact, the care you take or the cruelty you implant on the domestic worker, it will always pay back.
Of course.
Some of them may be cruel, but some have revenge on your children because you're not there. Take note that if you keep some food that have been maybe on your fridge for 2-3 days, it's getting bad, and then you subjugate the domestic worker to consume that, in your absence, some of that food that you thought had been thrown away will be used to feed a child. It's clear. And so, because you are not there, cameras of the wealthy ones who have cameras in there, some cameras have revealed those type of attitude. Therefore, I think that if we all come to our minds, our consciences, and we have the fear of God, we will understand, like I said, keep saying that domestic workers will always be needed in the society. They will always be. So the necessity is that let us take care. He's mentioned something here that if a visitor comes to your house and can be able to dissociate your children from a domestic worker, then you are a failure. It's true. It's very true, because in fact, your conscience should be revealed in the picture of children who are in your house, and nobody comes to make a demarcation that, oh, from the dresses or from the facial appearance, this is a stranger in this house. It would not be necessary.
Okay, it won't be necessary. I am watching from Bamenda, and your program is inspiring. I just thought of sharing this photo of a Frenchman who traveled to Ivory Coast in search of his nanny. I learned he bought her a house and kept her a monthly salary. Famatanto Ashoka, fellow making more health, fellow Cameroon. I don't know what that means, but this is a nanny who worked with a white guy.
Yes.
I'm sure the nanny was really too nice to the guy. The guy now leaves and goes over to France, but had to, some years later, had to travel back to trace this nanny who is now very old, buys her a car, builds a house for her, and then leaves her with a monthly salary. To say that at times when you are also called to serve, like he said, you do not know what the future holds, either both for the child who may need assistance from the nanny today, or the nanny who may also be compensated by the child because of the way they treated the child. Yeah, because this responsibility is also should also be imputed on the nannies, or the domestic workers who should take good care of the children, because whatever the parents may be doing is no fault of the child. The child is just there under your care. So why vent your anger on the innocent child? On the child? But now, you were in this situation, you lived with somebody and you were cut off. How were you expressing your difficulties?
Whatever I was facing in that house, I was not actually telling anybody. Yeah, I was not telling anybody. I was keeping myself. I had no one I could run to explain what I'm really going through. Everything, the past years I've been there, everything. That's why even when I came to my mom, I was like isolating myself from my other siblings because of the way I have been treated or have been growing up in that house. So it made me it's just recently that I started communicating or mingling with people. I was always in fear.
You were in fear, but in the house, could you not muster courage to say, I'm tired, I don't want this?
No.
Why?
At times, even when I'm sick, when she say I should do stuff, like she has pack dresses, so many things I should do. I'm not feeling myself. Even to say I'm sick, I could not. She was just, oh, when she come and meet me, I'm just like struggling. That she can see that I'm not well. I'm really sick. She will instead like start beating me that since in the morning that she left, I've not done anything, and like maybe she left, I left also, I went out. She does not even want to hear. Whenever I'm sick, I don't open my mouth to even tell her that I'm sick, or I don't say anything, even I'm hungry.
Could you not open up to her friends?
No.
You're afraid also?
Yes. Because I believe that if I open up to her friends will just go and tell her.
Yeah, but the friends could also tell her that, why are you treating this child like this?
They always come to that, they see the way she's treating me, they don't say anything. They see it very good or funny.
Is that not also the problem, Apostle Ambi? Because like she's saying, when you enter a house, you see the way they treat. Is the society not also condoning what we are talking about? Because we live with these situations in our quarters, but they are ongoing and described by so many as near slave situation.
Of course, like I said here earlier, none of us can pretend not to see such things happen around us. They are very visible around us every time we see them. But sometimes, like I said earlier, it is difficult for you to interfere in people's privacy. They will hunt you. They will hunt you, they will fight you, they will ask you if at all they have walked one day in your own compound to question whatever you are doing with your own children or whoever comes there. And this is the reason why sometimes you feel very uncomfortable. The only thing you can do is help the child from behind. As a good Samaritan. When you see the child out of the house, you can give the child tips, you can talk to the child, you can counsel the child. Some children are so intimidated to the extent where they cannot even explain actually what is wrong with them. You will ask the child will tell you, no, all is well. I'm saying so because a child ran to my house one evening, living with a woman, the mother's friend, as she told me. Young girl, she was approximately 16 years. I saw somebody, I was driving back, and then I saw my gate, beside my gate, a young girl sitting there, late around 10 p.m. And I stopped. I said, who are you? What are you doing here? She started crying. She said she just ran away from the house. I took her inside my compound. I brought her in front of me and I said she should explain. She explained to us what she went through in that house. I said, what do you want? She said, needs just transport to enter night bus and go back to Bamenda. My brothers, I will not tell you lies. I didn't bother to find out where she was coming from. I kept her. She slept at my place that night. Next morning, I gave her 10,000. She said, go and board the next available bus. Go to where you are coming from. At your age, you will not run here and be telling me such lies. And you will not jump out of a house that has given you shelter at this hour of the night. I don't think the outside is safer than where you are coming from. If at all you are running out of that house at this hour, which is more dangerous, it means you have concluded that outside is safer than that place you left. So that's it. So I had to compare. I said, but if I told this child was actually comfortable where the child was, she will not take the risk of coming out of the house that night. So the first thing I did, I asked her to give me her mother's number. I called the mother, she picked it, and I spoke with her. I said, Papa, I beg, send her for me, may come back. Better may come back alive. She said, send her for me, may come back. I want even see my begin back, may come back alive. So I gave the child transport. The next morning, she took the available bus and then traveled. I said, when you reach there, call the house you were staying there, let them talk with your mother. Because that's the only way you could help such a person. You may cancel them outside, they go back into the house, the story changes. And the truth is, when these people beat children who are house helps, when they maltreat them, it's within a compound. It's within a house. You will hardly see them even maltreat the children in the street. These things take place in the house. That's it. Even when a man wants to abuse a girl sexually, he's in the house. The wife is far asleep in the night, he jumps out of the bed and goes to the girl's room and then force her. Sometimes these children get pregnant. Then they are told not to mention the man's name. Then the child is being thrown out of the house as some prostitute who went out and got pregnant there. Then the child goes back to the mother's house with pregnancy, then the poor mother will send out that child knowing fully well that she has sent the child somewhere the child could be trained. The child is coming back with what the mother was avoiding. That's how critical it is. That's the reason why I'm insisting that if at all we have not developed the attitude, we should start building agencies in Cameroon that sign contract for housemates, at least for minimum wages, at least for the conditions. It must not be money. If you're going to sponsor the child, then fine. If you're going to give the child if you're going to pay a child salary, okay. And one of the things we also have to emphasize is that a child must not necessarily stay under somebody's roof to be a domestic worker. That's one thing we have to understand, because they take advantage when actually you are under their roof. Sometimes they will get you up at 11 o'clock in the night to go and clean the toilet. They will get you up at 1 a.m. in the night because a child has urinated. You have to go and remove the child's diapers. Now, because you are under that roof, but when you are living from somewhere and you come work and go back, you have your working hours. Once you work and you go, if eventualities come up at certain odd hours, you will not be available for them to maltreat you the way they are maltreating you. But in most cases, people send their children knowing fully well that the people, without knowing the hearts of the person they are sending their children to. So the child goes there, stays there. Sometimes the beauty of the house convinces the parent that the child is entering into a better life. The house can be beautiful, but the heart is not beautiful. You need to send your children to men who have good hearts, not good houses. Because most of the times we are fooled or deceived by the structure, the elegance, the flamboyance of the car, the house. Is, oh, if my child enters here, she will find a good life. You may send a child in a good building with the person having a good heart.
Okay.
Hand children to men who have good heart, not good house.
Good evening, Mr. Liu. Mr. Liu, I love your program for today. Mr. Liu, there is a male child around me here suffering from the hands of his stepmother. I mean suffering as an understatement, okay? Of course, whenever this commits an error, he's being tortured as an animal. One moment, the stepmother bought pepper, grind it and mixed it with water and poured on that child and got the child well beaten. So whenever you set your eyes on that child, you will see nothing but depression. Stella is writing from Tico, like what Apostle Ambe is saying, that can not express him to the father. The father is a military man and he has no enough time to spend with his family, that child rather. Okay, but I think that in such a situation, there are social centers in Tico, in Boya, and how do we handle such? You should denounce, because if you don't denounce, this child may just be killed one day.
Yeah, that's
yes. You should. If you see that, you should denounce. Go to social center. You may not openly say you are the one. You go behind, tell them, describe the situation. If possible, when something like that is happening, you record, and then you take it as
Evidence.
exhibit.
Yes, I think that that should be done, because you are an accomplice watching this child being brutalized every day. This one's good evening, Mr. Kuma. Praise for you creating awareness with the most neglected topics discussed. I want to mention critical examples going on around our neighborhoods, but we are silent because it's not touching us. Girls are brought to serve as nannies, but they are used as housekeepers who walk out of the scope of their employment. Kulu Maxell writing from Bomaka. They are equally people harboring domestic workers at home, and they don't even know any family member of that worker, and they are exploiting the person in the name of they are helping the child. Okay. Good evening to all of you watching from across the nation. Good evening, sir. All human rights and all humans have rights, and it should be respected. Most of such people go into working without any legal negotiations, which is the first thing they should have done before going to work in someone's house. Some labor traffickers take advantage of the people they call domestic workers. Where a domestic worker goes against the agreement, they both have it. Suffice that the master calls the parties which were involved at the beginning. Where the master goes against what is in the employment contract, the domestic worker should report to the state. On the other hand, we have serve as defenders or promoters of justice. Anyone seeing where a domestic worker is being maltreated should report to the police or any local authority. In G. Lucas, human rights defender, writing there from mile 16 in Boya. So many persons are writing. Hello to you all in the studio. There should be an adequate creation of a competent syndicate to ensure the smooth running and affairs of domestic workers in Cameroon, because most of the employers of these domestic workers do not take into consideration exceptionally to their domestic workers, knowing that they can at any time points in time endanger their lives and that of their families. My warmest regards to all the CDC workers pending their accrued salaries. Lissinger John, writing from Upper Costain. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Apostle Ambi and other panelists, the owner of the house should know that his life is in the hands of his cook and his driver, so they should be kind to their domestic staff. This is Prof. Abanda Gustav, writing from Boya. Good evening, sir. It is good to check the child at times, not to stay for more than a year without checking on the child. Some parents are the cause. Auntie Caro is writing from Muyuka. Good evening, Mr. Kuma. Praises for you discussing this. Good evening to all on board. I'm Christian from Bafusam. I love the program. Really, I support the fact that if an agency is being put in place to protect domestic workers, as one panel said, it will be better. Thanks for holding this program. Talking from Bamenda. I am having the same case where I live. A child is turning into a mess due to how she is treated by the current boss's wife. A nagging wife can be a start to a bad family. She makes her to do just everything, even at which she has a daughter which could help. I just wish someone better could handle the child. The child, she is good one, just being pushed away by fear. She now finds comfort in the hands of boys. Yes, as so many persons, Apostle Ambi, I think we should pass this message across that if you are living with children that are battered, tortured, and you are watching it, you are an accomplice to it.
Yeah.
But now, what is the objective of your association and what does it do?
Now, what we are struggling to do, which I happen to be the president, Universal Maiden Association Cameroon Unimark, we are struggling to create a network for all domestic workers. And our action plan is to ensure that all domestic workers in Cameroon should be governed or should be protected under our trade union, which we are envisaging in the days ahead or in the months ahead for an approval. For now, we operate as a non-profitable organization, advocating, calling on people of goodwill, people with consciences, like the apostle said, to join us and educate other Cameroonians, other people of the world, so that they can be aware, because it is a common phenomenon that 3/4 of these domestic workers are young girls, and the vulnerable sex in our society are the female sex. Most of them are even minor. And our main concern as a non-profitable organization is to ensure that let the law that has been put in place should be practiced. It should not be only on papers. Let the lawmakers of this country, Cameroon, the beautiful country that we find ourselves, should do something to amend this law and the situation. Because when we talk of nannies and domestic workers, they are mostly minors, and these children cannot express themselves. I believe if we get a domestic worker or a nanny or whosoever above 18 years, he or she can be educated easily to know he or her rights. And by so doing, that is where now our organization stand to ensure that let the government fight, or the government ensure that what they have put in place against employers employing minors as domestic workers, those employers should be brought to order. The law should hold them responsible for their act.
Yes, but are you in, how should domestic workers contact you for assistance, or how are you engaging them today?
Now, what we are doing, when we, as a non-profitable organization, when we get a situation of this nature, like somebody who have been maltreated, like the apostle said, one came to his house and he was able to give her 10,000 francs and assistance for her to go back to Bamenda. If such a case come to us and we have the means of finance, and maybe she is willing to learn a trade or to further her education, we try to find whether there is a relative around that can accommodate her, and we make sure we give her that education that she desires, like what Manka said, that she went through all the torment, the treatment, because she really wanted to go to school to be educated. Those who want to learn trade, we struggle to ensure that they learn it. Those who want to further their education, so when they come to us, we struggle. And that is why, since we don't have a particular, we are not for profit making, what donors give, what people of goodwill, sponsors or whosoever, give, we'll make sure, because we have a situation where, like, there is a case in one school at Obili where a donor is giving the fees through our organization, and we ensure that the fee is paid and all the report, everything, because they don't know what he has taken that person to sponsor, not us. So that we want a balanced society where this domestic worker dignity should be respected. That is our cry, and that is why we are creating a network, a networking system where all these domestic workers, that solidarity among them should be there. Because like what the apostle said, that that neighbor cannot come to rescue the situation that is happening there. He cannot, because maybe he or she is also having one in the house there, and all of them. Because what I've discovered in my findings is that most of these employers, most of them, they're actually the same. Those who are maltreating these children, they don't have consciences. They are the same. Because the same complaint, you will go there, he will say, she has done this. The same person will say, the same with me. They are like, nobody is struggling to bring out the truth.
Okay, nobody is struggling to bring out the truth. Good evening to you, Mr. Liu, and all the team in the studio. Thanks so much for the awareness your program is raising. Great points being brought up. Indeed, there should be some sort of syndicate to follow up such cases. Let love lead. Dr. Kevin is writing from Fumban. Good evening. I like the program ongoing, and also I like the interventions of Apostle Ambe. Most house helps employers exploit their house help and maltreat them. I wish all who engage domestic workers and house help that they also know that they are also human beings and God's creation. On the day of judgment, everyone shall be judged by the same standards by the Almighty God, as they shall be no master, no servant, or house help, etc. May the government take action, okay, to protect child abuse and the rights of the helpless. Thank you. Tinga is writing from Bamenda. Hello to you, Mr. Kum. I'm writing from Gandere. I love the program like that of yesterday. Thanks for the educative program. For the child who is living with a stepmom and she is maltreated, can she not go back to the mother? It is generally said children are of the mother, so why allow your child with a stepmother? Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Interesting program, but please let's be careful with what we say on TV, like poison possibility. Okay, in May. Good evening, Mr. Liu and the panelists. I thank Dr. Ambe for the true Mokanya Abel, writing from Boya. Some humans are real wicked to others, and that's selfishness to yourself. And when troubles meet them, they will be looking for deliverance. Thanks by Joshua in Santa. Good evening to you all. Please say, how much is a domestic worker supposed to earn by the law? Many persons may have joined later. Specifically, can you point out all of those things that are enshrined in our law concerning domestic workers, hours of work? You talked about rest and lots of others.
Yeah. Thank you once more, Mr. Leo. I want to say that the minimum wage that has been put in place in this country, Cameroon, does not exclude domestic workers, because the increment from 36,000 to 42,000 is for all Cameroonians. And domestic workers earning that amount as the minimum wage, the first thing the employer should know that after 7 days of recruiting this domestic worker, it is his responsibility to register the domestic workers under the same pay as the National Social Insurance. You have to register this child. And there must be an established contract before recruiting this domestic worker. And the domestic workers must have a day off as a resting day.
In a week?
In a week.
Okay.
The domestic workers must not exceed 8 hours of work a day. He or she is due holidays in a year, depending on the agreement with the employer, that there must be an holiday. In case of event, like marriage event or loss of lost one, it is the responsibility of the employer to give permission to this employee. But the employee must notify the employer. Another point here that I want to make clear is that when we bring out these laws protecting these domestic workers, like the apostle said, if you don't have that will, that willingness, that faith, that conscience to treat that child with all what it takes as a fellow human being, you will avoid contracts. I've seen a situation where a lady called me and said she has been following my program, and I've been holding seminars, workshops, and one of those domestic workers, she need one. I said, there's no problem. You are ready to sign a contract with a domestic worker, I will mediate. We are a non-profitable organization. I will make sure that all what you have signed, both of you will agree. Her pay wage, you sign, everything, and a legal mind stamps it. It's established. She has a copy, you have a copy, and the copy is going to the legal mind. Our own is to come and pass around to see that what you sign is implemented. She said, hey, do you want an palava law? Just like it's common not only among domestic workers, even in some lay private schools, even in the education domain, there are schools that recruit teachers without papers. They avoid signing. So we are in a society where it's full of unscrupulous capitalists, people who want to take advantage of the less privileged. Because when you look, Mr. Lowe, the marginalized group in our society are these domestic workers. They cannot. Most of them are less educated. They don't go to school. They go to those villages and get these children. They promise that they will sponsor them to do something, to learn a trade. Maybe the tailoring, they will do hairdressing, and so on. You imagine you have taken somebody's child to do hairdressing. if you are paying 10,000 francs a month, this child does everything. And after 2 years, the child said he has completed, because that thing is about 2 years, you are okay. Then you keep somebody's child for about 10 years in your house. You restrict any relative from coming to see this child. Some of them, when they go to those villages and get these children, they give fake numbers. They give fake numbers. I have a situation whereby a child was taken in a remote area in front of my eyes. Until date, the father died. She was deprived to go there. And her employer do not even bother. It is later on that she noticed. But now she threatened to leave the house. She also checked the village. The condition in the village is critical, so she's banned. So what we are saying here is that we are not coming to bring a kind of like, let these domestic workers too should be stopped. They should take it as an advantage that there is an organization fighting for them and they can do whatever thing they want to do. No, when somebody too is giving you shelter, do your best to ensure that this person is happy. But let love lead. That is my cry. Let love lead. We should treat these children like what the apostle said. If it is, or if somebody enter your house and can differentiate, can pick out who is a domestic worker, then it's bad. So our cry is that as far as you are a domestic worker and you are maltreated, you are not fine, you can reach to Universal Medding Association, Cameroon, Unimac. We are there. We have a branch office in Yaoundé. Our main office is in Bamenda. You can contact us. You can get to my media prime, any other. You can go to the police and even report your situation there. And if you are that kind of a person of good faith, that kind of a Cameroonian that you want to, you love the idea, and as a Christian, and whether being a Muslim or a Christian, and you want that what we are doing, you want to come to the aid of these domestic workers, you are free to contact us. We have many of them that really need help, but we cannot do otherwise because our hands too are tight. It is not business. We are a non-profitable organization. We'll get it. If somebody said, take this 10,000 francs and give this domestic worker, you make sure you give. Because don't, like he said, be careful, we don't know tomorrow. We should not start something and thinking that we want to reap from it, and tomorrow the repercussion is dangerous. So it is better we fight for the betterness of these domestic workers.
Okay.
Because those who are having these domestic workers are people who truly cannot do without them. Mr. Lou, you can bear with me that there is scarcity of domestic workers now. Yes. Many parents don't want their children to go there. That they want to go and live with another person as in the form of a domestic worker. The person will send he or she or sponsor the. No, they don't okay. Accept that.
So if you're watching us this evening, you are a domestic worker or you have a friend who is a domestic worker who needs assistance, get to me. I'll get you connected to Mr. Amen Maurice, or I can share his number with you so that you can explain your situation to him. He will see how to help. And but you could also go to your pastor, go to church. Go to the police and go to persons that you think can help the situation. Now, you have been a victim. You survived because you overheard the fact that they were supposed to go to a meeting, so you sneaked out and met your mother who took you home. Now, what is the advice you're telling some other boys and girls who may be in your situation? How should they help themselves out?
My advice goes to both the girls and the boy, those that are involved in the situation that I was. Mm-hmm. If they find themselves in the situation that I was, that they should, for me, is that they should keep praying. They should not listen advice from outside, because not everyone who is good. Maybe they might see someone who is, they think maybe that person can be a help, help to them. The person will say take it and go and report them to them. And like they should keep it to themselves. Then they should keep praying. One day God will touch their boss's heart, or one day they might have a chance to escape as I was.
Okay.
Yes.
So you escaped?
I escaped.
Yes, okay. Mr. Leo, I wanted to contribute to the point Apostle Ambe raised on he listened only to one side of the story and concluded. My own point of view is that he could have contacted the parents living in Douala to listen to their own side of the story before sending the child. Some children are demonic, but do you also know that some children are really problematic? Some girls go in, instead of walking, they want to seduce the man, and they start doing blood affair with the woman in the house.
Yes. There's some girls, actually, where you see some girls that are trying to do that. You cannot just like blame that means where they are coming from. Maybe their house, or that once you really check it where you investigate, you discover that maybe those girls have come across one person that has treated them bad, that they believe that they will just grow up with that same way, that if I find myself in this house, I will do, maybe that means I will torment. Because if I want to check by what I was going through, that woman's child could also be suffering. But I just believe that we have the blood that is rolling in our veins and we are connected. So that's the reason that no matter what the mother do to me, but I was never doing. I mean, I was treating her like my own junior sister.
Okay, you treated her the way God says we should treat human beings.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Len, how do we mitigate this issue where persons maltreat children who are volunteered to work with them? How do we bring the society to help to solve this problem? Because it is true, we say the police should come in, take them to human rights, but how can the community help in solving this problem?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Leo. I think there's the necessity for education, which is like Mr. Morris is coming up with, because I think the ignorance, first of all, comes from the fact that maybe both the employers and the employees are not aware of what rights they have. Like, if I have to come back to one of the messages you read there about the opinion of
Apostle Ambe.
Mr. Apostle Ambe, yes. You see, I would rather ask the person if that child could run out of the house up to 10 p.m. and then the house from which she rushed away, nobody could follow to check. Because I think Mr. Apostle Ambe said it was not, the house from where the child escaped was not too far from his, which implies that to me, maybe if the supposed parents of the house had followed out, they would have been able to trace the child seated in front of Apostle Ambe's house. So you see, it comes back to the necessity of being human. So I think that where these people, these domestic workers could have a way out, it is through this sensitization. I think that my media prime will play a lot of important role in this sensitization. And I think so far we have not been able to get the contacts that these vulnerable persons may have to get to Mr. Morris's organization. And then, like we have also suggested here, the domestic workers who are the most vulnerable should be able to have the means by which you could get to places where their plight could be addressed. Maybe media houses like yours, the police stations, and then to make themselves known to organizations like the one that Mr. Morris is coming up with, because they need assistance. And some of them, like Manka herself said, some of them stock up their plight because of fear, because of ignorance of who they can address their situation to. So I think that the most important thing first is let them get education, and let the persons that are involved in employing these people develop that humanity, that consciousness that let me treat somebody's child, because tomorrow we never know. Death comes and it doesn't indicate some time. Look at that exemplary indication you just read. Somebody who had been brought up by a nanny. A nanny is a domestic worker. And there is a child that was well cared for. Because we have seen some other examples in the society where the child is more attached to a nanny than a mother. It exists. Because of that, that speaks volumes to make you understand, okay, that nanny has demonstrated a motherly hold on that child, even more than the biological mother. In some cases that exist in our society. So those are the good examples that the community should emulate. Even those houses where the domestic workers are on a going hell, as you put it that way, they should be able to copy examples that are good for the community to copy. Yes, I think that is the consciousness that we have to bring to the public. Because like I keep saying, you sometimes you may say that you will not employ a domestic worker, but situations where maybe your wife and you yourself, because we must fight for survival, you are bound to go out there to work. And that's when you have to ring in your mind that you need to take care of the domestic worker as your own self, as your own child. Because I keep saying the domestic worker becomes the God in your absence on your child.
Yeah, but is it not just the fact that they are taking advantage of the situation in which these domestic workers find themselves? Most often, we engage in domestic jobs because we do not have. And those who are recruiting are those who can afford. And we know the background of the respective workers we are taking and tend to abuse it because these guys, for the most part, are coming from very, very poor backgrounds.
Mr. Leo, every domestic worker is a president in process, is a governor in process, is a parliamentarian in process, is a business guru in process. If you perceive them from that angle, you will know how to treat them. That somebody is going through a phase does not mean that the person's destiny. Somebody can be a domestic worker today, tomorrow is your boss. Somebody can be a domestic worker today, tomorrow is your president. Somebody can be a domestic worker today, tomorrow is the person that will sign the next document that will take your child to the next level in life. That's why you say, when you are going up the ladder, treat people with a kind heart, because you may be coming down and you meet these people on the path, on your pathway. So the danger is people don't seem to understand that somebody is going through a particular situation right now. You and I, we come from families that do not have money, but we are not the same. There are persons today who are getting what they are getting through what we have created. Now, if at that position where we came from, that poor family, we did not have anything, somebody maltreated us. Do you think if somebody's son is sent here today, tomorrow, who maltreated you as a young guy who came from a family that had nothing? Oh, my son now is a journalist, so I want him to come and do internship here, or I want him to be employed here. Or they fail to understand that that small boy yesterday who was a domestic worker is a manager today. So the issue is we cannot make conclusions on people based on their present situation. And most of these domestic workers are in a phase in their lives. They are going through a passage. And if you understand very well what we call destiny, you will not want to maltreat anybody when the person is down there. Because you cannot explain that somebody is a prisoner today, the next day is a prime minister. Joseph, if this mindset envelopes our thought pattern, it will be very difficult for us to maltreat people when we see them, whether they are domestic workers or not domestic workers. Be very careful. You may be stepping on the toe of somebody who is going to be the next person that you will climb on his back tomorrow to see the future. If we have this philosophy, that idea of domestic worker, branding somebody as a domestic worker will go out of your mind. You will see them first as creatures of God. Secondly, you will see them first, secondly, as humans. And sometimes some people are not even wise enough to realize that those domestic workers are even wiser than your children in the house. Because you test them academically, they are doing better than your own kids. That's a language. It's a message God is telling you that this person you have seen as a domestic worker today is a potential person tomorrow. So the earlier you treat them now, we used to sit in church and say, my friend, greet me and treat me very well now because you don't know what I will become tomorrow. It looks like a normal slang. But the truth is, to be sincere, we have to understand that anybody you see on your path, you cannot make conclusions based on the way you see people at their present moment. That's the danger that most people don't seem to understand. That's why you see, I do everything possible to treat everybody with kindness and respect. I used to drive on the street and I see persons under the rain, I stop. That I'm in a car today does not mean that I want to be on foot tomorrow. That is the philosophy I work with. So whether you are coming from the high and the mighty, you know. If you come a pastor, you come to the church, you will not know who is rich and who is poor. Because why? I treat everybody equally. That is because I do not know that this young boy who seems to be a beggar today can end up being the governor tomorrow. I've learned this. And now if we do that, if somebody walks into your house, for your information, it was a house help that caused Potiphar's house to survive. Potiphar said, by experience I realized since you came into my house, I've prospered. It was Jacob also a house help that went to Laban's house. He said, by experience, since you came, everything around me prosper. There are children that can enter into your house, everything begin to move. They have an aura around them. They may not have money, but they come with an aura that causes favor in your house. So mind the way you treat people, because money is not everything about life. Some people think that financial buoyancy is the ultimate in life and destiny. No. Sometimes there are things that money cannot solve.
Okay, there are things that money cannot solve, Mr. Ame. The activities is just sensitization, helping domestic workers, but you are looking forward to creating a trade union that is going to bring all the domestic workers under, so that together you can fight for their situation.
Exactly, Mr. Liu. Because we have noticed that when we come under a syndicate, a trade union that will protect all these domestic workers, when we get their complaints, we can now follow up through the appropriate quarters, and we now carry their complaints where we'll get a solution. And we we don't just limit ourselves by sanitizing the population or coming on air. We also encourage them that they should not limit themselves as domestic workers. They should be thinking that the little money they get from this domestic work, they should save it and see how they can better their life tomorrow.
Good evening, Mr. Liu. Domestic workers in Cameroon need to know their rights and let the government create a commission to cater for their rights. It's Auntie Lucy writing from Muya. Good evening to you, Auntie Lucy. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Abubakar Yakubu from Yaoundé. I wish to appreciate the hard work put in place by the CEO, Mr. Ahmed Maurice. He is indeed a man with a good heart who has decided to listen to the voices of the underprivileged. I'll take two messages and then we call it. Good evening, Mr. Liu and crew. Donat is watching from Equatorial Guinea. I love your program. The organization of Mr. Maurice is timely and a welcome idea. Domestic workers or modern-day slave workers, as the case may be, should have age limit. Teenagers should not be considered as domestic workers. Further child abuse, which should be abolished. Good evening in the studio, Mr. Liu. The panelist, Mr. Tata from Limbe. I'm very happy with the topic of today. Besides, there is something really bothering me about the domestic workers some years behind. I know somebody who has been with a domestic worker for more than 20 years, and that lady has never seen the four walls of a class. One, but the man's grandchildren were going to school until that lady's parents died. The man never ever gave her the permission to go to witness even the burial of her parents. Somebody just come one day and took her and run with the lady. Is in her village now. Imagine a girl of 20 years without even knowing anything. If want to even confuse her, just changed 1,000 francs and cash and give her. She can't count it. His own children are in the United States. The man was living but with his grandchildren, and that lady was taking care of his grandchildren. So I don't really know if it's anything that can be done about such issue. Each time I think of this thing, I really disturb me, because the man needs to be whole to pay for the damage he did to the girl. I don't know what you can do, but for those who have cases, just get to Mr. Morris. You want his number, get to me. I will share his number with you. You can share, you can discuss with him. This one says, I left that house, okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I really love this topic, and it takes me back to 2008 when I was working for one journalist in Yaoundé. That was arranged that after the child grew up, I was going to learn a trade. or go back to school. When the child was big, the treatment and the attitude of the couple changed in such a way that I have to leave. When I was leaving, the only thing I get from them was that I was a loser and that they have used me and they don't longer needed my help, that I should go. Loser, I'm writing from Douala. I left the house without any money or transport fare. I don't even know anybody there in Yaoundé because I was from the village. Okay, so many, so very sorrowful stories. We want to say that we are ending at this juncture. Mr. Ahmed, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Leo, for inviting me. And it's my pleasure being here, and I promise not to relent my effort to ensure that the right of domestic workers in Cameroon and well at large should be respected. And I'm calling for the government of Cameroon and people of good faith, organization, churches to come on board to support Universal Medicines Association so that together we can have a secured society where domestic workers' rights are respected. Thank you very much.
Thank you to Apostle Lambe for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. It's always a joy to be here. We help educate Cameroonians, at least to have respect for domestic workers.
Thank you for coming, Mr. Lang.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leo. It's a great pleasure. I've been a keen listener to your programs, and particularly Pastor Ambe, very eloquent that he has always been. I am a great lover to this program, so I wish that as it has started, I could make myself more available. Yeah, so I'm very appreciative of your programs as well.
One of your students, you taught in Form 5,
St. Francis College.
No, Muke Ebang.
Okay.
It's a lady, she lives not far from here. She sends greetings to you. Thank you too for coming.
Yes,
Manka.
well, I've been an old teacher, so.
The privilege to be here and to expose myself to the world, what I passed through, and to help many people who are passing the same thing which I have passed, at least so they can know that there is an association that has been created, that will be created for them to go in and expose themselves.
Okay. We want to say, somebody also wrote that I said something about palm yesterday in the program, and he says that he lived in Camp 7. Yes, I was born in Camp 7 in Lobe Estate, and yes, that's where my father worked at the mill. So that is where I was born. I went to GS Bekura out there in the division. And just to say that we are ending with this information that has been celebrated across Cameroon so far, the release of the phone of Bambalang there in pictures. He was released today. He's been in captivity for 18 good months by the separatists. He was released today. That information was confirmed in a press conference that was granted by the governor of the Northwest region, His Excellency Lily Lafrica Chofo. So we thank God for his release and his life, and especially for the family and the people of Bambalang who should be celebrating today. We want to thank you all who took time off to watch this edition of the program. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.